I wanted to just start this video off by making a mention to everything that's going on at the moment as surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement. I am supporting the movement. I will leave links to everything that you can do to help out in the description link down below, so you can go and check that out. Petitions you can sign, places where you can donate, and anything else that you can do to help. And I will leave links to some channels, some really important channels actually, that I think you should be going checking out as well, of some black creators that I really enjoy watching. So I'll leave the links to those down below as well. I just really wanted to sort of mention it here in my channel. I don't have a massive following, but I just wanted to let everybody know that does follow me and does watch my videos that I am supporting black people and Black Lives Matter, and this is something that we should be helping out with and being better allies with as much as we possibly can. So I just wanted to make note of that before I get into the video, so thank you. Hi team, I hope you're all well. Please, if you hear a beeping, it's just been going off in my introduction, I know, but if you hear the beeping, it's intermittent. It is my smoke alarm. It cannot decide whether or not it needs its battery changing, so it's driving me up the wall. But I am here today to do my recent reads video, which is for the second half of May. I think that's from the 17th of May up to the end. I can't remember, honestly. I also apologise about this light here on my head. I don't know where this is coming from. My table is glass, so that's probably not helping, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. I apologise. So I read 16 books, I think it was, in the second half of May. So overall I read 31 books in 31 days, which is crazy. There are a couple of graphic novels here, so that helps, but there is also an absolute tome, so I don't know, swings and roundabouts. So let's get into it before we are here for way too long. I did manage to complete Believathon, which is great. So I managed to read all 5 books for Believathon that I wanted to get to, so that's awesome. I had a great time taking part in Believathon, and I cannot wait for the main event in November. So thank you to Gav for hosting Believathon, and yeah, it was awesome. So getting into the first book that I read in the second half of May, I read Brightstone by Vashti Hardy. I gave this 4 stars. It was great. We are following twins, Arthur and Maudie, and I think they're twins anyway, I can't fully remember. Maybe they're not twins, maybe they're just brother and sister. Devastated by the news that their dad, who is an explorer, has gone missing and has died in a failed attempt to reach the South Polaris. But a mysterious clue, they are twins, it says it there, but a mysterious clue leads the twins on an adventure into a skyship to go and find him. They're fairly certain that he hasn't been killed and it's all been a lie, and it was really good. Such a great adventure. I have the second one on my wish list, so I'm really looking forward to continuing this. I know quite a few people read this one during the Believathon readathon, so it was a good one. I really enjoyed it. I know Jade from Jade Away Reads, I think she gave this 5 stars. She loved it, so yeah, it was great, and I highly recommend picking this one up. Obviously it is middle grade, so do check that one out. Then I read Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. I really loved this. I thought it was great. We are following 3 different people, and we're following Elise, Sabine and Bastian. So basically Elise and Sabine are bone criers. Essentially what they do, trigger warnings in this for animal cruelty, so just beware of that. I mean, it's done in I don't, to be honest, however you dress it up is animal cruelty, but it's not done in a, you know, extreme, I don't know, I was going to say it's not done in an extremely vicious way, but it kind of is. They're killing animals. I just don't know what to say about it, to be honest. But essentially the bone criers, they will kill animals and remove a bone from their body, then bury the rest of the animal. That's where I was trying to go with that. It's not that violent, but it is. Doesn't matter how you dress it up, it is. They will keep the bone of an animal, carve it, and then either wear it as like a necklace around the neck or maybe as a bracelet, I'm not sure, and they then
gain the power from that animal. So essentially, like for example, maybe they might get a bird, so they will get enhanced hearing and enhanced sight, and also they can't exactly fly, but if they were to jump they would go a further distance than normal. Similarly with a bigger animal like a bear or something, they would get, you know, strength, and a faster animal like a cheetah or something, they would get speed, things like that. So essentially the idea is that the bone criers use this power to guide the dead across a bridge, to guide them to their final destination. Now unfortunately the bone criers have to kill their one true love to do this and gain the power and become a full-blown bone crier. And Sebastian's father was one of the men that were killed, and he would like revenge on the bone criers, so he kidnaps Alessa, and Sabine has to try and save her. That's the way the story goes. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The writing style was really, really good. I'm looking forward to reading more of this, like continuing on with the series. It was great, and yeah, just really enjoyed it. Catherine Purdy's been really approachable as well. She even shared one of my Instagram picture, I'll show the picture here if I can get it up, of my unboxing for Fairy Loot, because this came in a Fairy Loot box. The sprayed edges are gorgeous, and I read this as part of the buddy read for Fairy Loot. So yeah, it was amazing. Really, really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook as well because it was available on BookBeat, and it was very, very good, so highly recommend. Then I read Siege and Storm, which is the second in the Grishaverse series by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know where I was going then. Bardugo? I don't know. By Leigh Bardugo. I really enjoyed this. I don't know, I'm so surprised at how much I'm enjoying this series. It's very, very good. I'm not going to explain this to you because A, it's the second in a series, and B, fairly certain everybody knows what the Grishaverse trilogy is about. So yeah, but I'm really enjoying this so far, and I'm looking forward to reading Ruin and Rising hopefully in the month of June so that we can finish this series off. I've been buddy reading this with Siobhan from Siobhan Louise Reads a Lot, and we are excited to get on to Six of Crows. That beeping is so annoying. We're excited to get on to Six of Crows duology, so looking forward to finishing that series off. Then I read a graphic novel that I got from NetGalley called Forte by Manon Hugel and Kim Consigne. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's a graphic novel that has originally been published in French several years ago, and it's finally coming out in English. So I got an arc of it on NetGalley. This is following a young girl who wants to be a pianist. She wants to be a professional pianist. It's about her story of the struggle of trying to become a professional pianist, and also the prejudices that come with that as well. It was really, really good. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed the art style and the way it was told as well. It was a really good story and I really enjoyed it. Then I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This is going to be a quartet, and I'm so excited. I just can't believe I have to wait till next year to get the next one. I loved this. I think I might have liked it even better than the first one. So I can't fully tell you what happens in this because it would spoil it for a starter. It would also spoil the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. But in this one we're following Pip again, who is the girl that we're following in the first one, and she has decided she no longer wants to be a detective following the events of what happened at the end of the first book. And she gets approached by a friend of hers called Connor, who is worried that his older brother Jamie has gone missing. His mum is also worried that he's gone missing, and Pip tries to divert this to the police and see if they will take lead on this, but unfortunately Jamie is of an age where he can just disappear if he wants to because he's an adult, and he does this regularly. He will disappear for a few days and then come back without saying a word to his parents. But Connor's worried. He thinks there's more to this than meets the eye, and he really, really wants Pip to look into it, and the police just won't do anything. So she ends up looking into it as a favour to Connor because he is a good friend, and she's grown up with Jamie and Connor, and she ends up looking into the disappearance of Jamie, who is obviously the brother of Connor. So yeah, I really love this one. I think I might have liked it better, a little bit better than the first one. I gave them both 5 stars, but I think I might have liked it a little bit better. It's actually fighting for first place at the top of my top 10 at the moment. So I love this one a lot, gave it 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend. Then I read A Quiet Girl in a Noisy World, an introvert story by Debbie Tung. This is a graphic novel about an introvert, essentially about Debbie and her husband. She is quite the introvert, and I really love this, and god, this is brilliant. I just relate to this in so many different ways, and it can explain quite a lot as well. I just really enjoyed it. It was a laugh but also very insightful, and I highly recommend picking this up. If you are an introvert, you'll enjoy this. If you have an introvert in your life, it may explain quite a lot. So I just recommend everybody picking this up. It's very good, and I just loved it so much. Then I picked up The Vanishing Star by Maureen Johnson, which is the second in the Truly Devious series. Again, can't tell you too much about this because it's the second in the series, but we continue to follow Stevie at Ellingham Academy, and if this follows straight on from the events of Truly Devious, so another reason why I can't tell you exactly what happens in this, but it's very good, and I highly recommend picking up this series if you are looking for a YA mystery thriller. In the first one, we are following Stevie, who manages to get recruited for a prestigious school. Essentially, it's a very special school for really, you know, clever kids, Ellingham Academy. But previously, I think it's a couple of 100 years ago or something, the 1800s, it might have been late 1800s, I think. Maybe it was I can't even remember when it was. 1936, I don't even know what I'm talking about. In 1936 there was a missing person and I think a murder as well, and Stevie's fascinated by this and she really wants to figure out what happened, so she's on a mission to do that, and this just follows on from the event straight from that, continuing to follow Stevie at Ellingham School. So highly recommend picking this one up. Like I say, if you're looking for YA mystery thriller, it's very good. Then I read Friendship to the Max, which is the second in the Lumberjanes graphic novel series. This is a middle grade series, which I didn't know until Jade mentioned it actually one day in one of the live shows for Believeathon. So I decided to pick this one up for the final prompt of Believeathon, which was to read the next in a series, because I was flagging on Skullduggery, and I was literally on the last day. It was about bloody 5 PM on the last day when I remembered that I needed to read another book. So if I shift over, does that make it better? Yeah, a little bit. So I read the second in the Lumberjanes series. I really enjoyed it. This is following a group of girls who are essentially, Lumberjanes are a little bit like brownies but in America. So I don't know if that's like an official thing over in the States, but for this series that's what it is. But they do a lot more outside stuff than the brownies do, so lots of camping, lots of, you know, going looking at the wildlife and things like that, looking at animals, but there is a magical element to this, and the girls are constantly getting themselves in trouble. This is also queer. There is a female-female relationship in this, and I just love it so much. It's so much fun. I gave it 4 stars. It was just fantastic. I think I enjoyed the second one more than I enjoyed the first, so I do recommend reading this series and continuing on with it. Even if you weren't so keen on the first one, it does get better, so I'm excited to continue with this series. It was just so much fun. Then I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a mystery thriller. Obviously I was having all the mystery thriller fun this month, but I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. This is set on an island off the coast of Ireland, and this is following a wedding party. We're following 5 people, I think. So we're following the bride, Julia, we're following her sister, Olivia, we're following a +1 called Hannah, we are following Effie, I think that's how you pronounce it, Effie, the woman who actually owns the grounds and is also the wedding planner, and then we are following Jono, the best man. So we are following guests from the wedding party, and essentially this is done in such a way that this will jump from the day before the wedding and also like the day of the wedding, and then jump to right that second when a body is found. We don't know until the very end who's died and also who did the killing, but this basically sort of is lots of secrets that come out in one go, as well as a death. So it's a very murder mystery, very well done. I think the reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars rather than 5 was because I predicted who was dead, relatively early on. I predicted who'd been killed. I didn't predict who'd done it, so that was very cleverly done, but I predicted who was dead, and I don't know, I just didn't get the full 5-star vibe from it, but it was very cleverly done. And the secrets that come out in this, just be wary, trigger warnings for bullying, severe bullying, the death from a bully, and also trigger warnings for self-harm as well. So just beware of those, be careful of those massively. But very, very good, very well done. I enjoyed it, it was great, had a good time with it. Okay, sorry if the angles changed, my SD card was got full. So the next book that I read was Run by Ann Patchett. This is the first I have read from Ann Patchett, and I enjoyed it, actually, really enjoyed it. Was pleasantly surprised because the first few pages of this were very heavy on the politics and religion side, and I don't really read about things like that. So it was good though, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I was reading this along with Tandem on a read along, so thank you to them for sending me this. This is following Tip and Teddy, who are two black boys who are adopted by a white couple. They already have a son, but unfortunately they're struggling to have any more children, so they adopt Tip and Teddy, and then the mother dies, Bernadette dies, and they are left with their dad Bernard, who in the book is named Doyle, it's his last name. And basically we're following them. It's almost essentially, the majority of it is through a 24-hour period, but we get like an introduction into how they became part of the Doyle family, and then at the very end we sort of see them post the 24 hours, like I think it's 2 or 3 years later. But the majority of this, a big chunk of this, is throughout 24-hour period. So I really enjoyed this. Essentially it is following them going to a political kind of, not rally if you like, but a political informal thing with with their father, who used to be the mayor of the town until something happened which you find out about, and they don't really want to be there. Tip's not a big fan of being there. He's a very, very clever boy, but he would rather be at work with the fishes. He works on fish and things like that, so he would rather be doing that. And he sort of has a semi-argument outside of the place with his dad and ends up being run over by an SUV, but something else happens in relation to that, and it's just an entire story surrounding these two boys essentially, but another couple of players come into it as well, and it's very cleverly done. I highly recommend picking this one up, but stick with it, it's very, very good. I really enjoyed it towards the end, it was very, very good. The chapters are very long in this though, so just beware of that, but I thought it was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Invisible Differences by Juliet Dashes, I think that's how you pronounce that. So this is another one that's been recently translated to English. So we're following Marguerite, who lives in, I think it's France, and she struggles, she feels awkward, she's not very good in social situations, she struggles to make friendships and relationships. She's in a relationship but she struggles to maintain that relationship, and she has a set routine, and if that routine is messed about with, she really, really struggles to sort of deal with that as a person, and she can't figure out why this is an issue for her. Like, she has to plan things in advance. If her boyfriend comes home one day and says, oh, we've been invited to such and such a body, shall we go? She can't deal with that, she cannot handle it, and it causes a big fuss for them both. So she ends up trying to figure out what the problem is and what's causing her issues, because she gets pulled up in work for not being sociable enough, things like that. She manages to go see a doctor about, she's been doing some research and she thinks she might have Asperger's and be on the autism spectrum. Now this doctor laughs in her face and says that there's no way she must have autism because she's a functioning human being, which is actually disgusting from a doctor, from a professional. It's disgusting from anybody, but especially from a professional. Nobody should be saying things like that. But she then manages to go to another doctor who turns out she does have Asperger's and she is on the autism spectrum. So she feels so much relief in finding this information out, but it changes her life massively for the better. Actually, it changed her life massively for the better. This is a true story, it is a memoir, and it is told from the perspective of actually a woman who owns a bookshop, who Marguerite used to walk past every single day, and eventually family goes in to get some books on Asperger's and autism because to learn more about them. So it's told from the perspective of the bookshop owner, who is a storyteller and also can do, you know, illustrations. This is a graphic novel, so Marguerite has told her the story and they have collabed together to do this story. So I've given this 5 stars. I thought it was fantastic. I love the illustrations. It was black and white with bits of red dotted around, and it was really good, and such an important story as well. At the very end it had a lot of information for people who don't know about Asperger's and autism, where they can learn more and become, you know, more aware of the people around them and these situations where they might be speaking to a person who's on the autism spectrum but they've no idea. So it gives you a lot more awareness, and I just thought it was very well done, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good, very informative as well, so highly recommend picking that one up if you can do so. Then I read Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Mariko Tamaki and Rosemary Valero O'Connell. I really enjoyed this. Another graphic novel. This is black and white with tinges of pink or peach, if you like. Try and find you one where you might be able to see the pink. I really love this. I thought it was fantastic. What's really funny is when I went into this, for some reason I thought this was Laura Dean, and it's not. This is Laura Dean. I just don't know why I thought that. I also hadn't realised that this, I've obviously not read the synopsis because it does explain it in the synopsis, but I hadn't realised this was queer either, which it is. So this is a female-female relationship. We are following Freddie Riley, who is dating Laura Dean, but she keeps breaking up with her, and Freddie's getting sick of it, but she won't officially end it off, like cut it off. The second that Laura Dean comes back to her, Freddie's like, yeah, okay, it's fine, everything's fine, and it just makes Freddie become a bit of a shit friend, really. And one of her friends pulls her up on it, and she realizes that, you know, this has got to stop, it's getting stupid now. So I gave it 3 stars. The graphic design, the illustrations in here are gorgeous, and it's probably something I would pick up again and again, just for something to go through. You know, it's nice and easy, it's perfect for readathons and things like that, but I don't think it's necessarily mind-blowing. Nothing mind-blowing happens. It's just a story of a girl in a relationship where her partner is treating her like shit, and then she becomes a shit friend because of it, ditching her friends because she's going meeting her partner and things like that. And then if one of her friends pulls her up on it, and then she sorts herself out, and it's nothing, you know, mind-blowing. This happens all the time. So it's a very good story, and I love the way it's told. I gave it 3 stars. I just thought it was really nice. But yeah, it's a good one. Then I read Critical Science and Stories from the Brink of Human Life by Dr. Matt Morgan. This was a backlist NetGalley arc that I had basically, and I listened to it on BookBeat. This was fantastic. It was Matt narrating the story as well, which was great. So similarly to Adam Kay's This Is Gonna Hurt, you really know, you know, when things are getting serious and things like that. However, I found that this one was a lot more serious than Adam Kay's. Basically, Matt will tell you about a case and will walk you through exactly what they did in that case. So it does get a lot more graphic than This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay, but I wanted to pick this up based on the fact that I enjoyed This Is Gonna Hurt. So I do recommend picking this one up if you are into, you know, your medical sort of non-fiction type books. It is a really good one to pick up, and also the audio version is very good because Matt narrates it himself. But I really enjoyed it. It was really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. Matt has actually commented on my review as well, so you can get more information from that too. But yeah, really enjoyed it. It was very good, and do recommend picking that one up. Then I read the tome of the month. I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. Why is this happening? I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. I gave this 5 stars. I freaking loved it. If you don't know what this book is about, where have you been? I am so excited about this. I don't know how many books are going to be in this series, but I'm really excited. I'm assuming it's a series anyway. Really excited about it. So we're following Bryce, who is half human, half fae, and this is a fantasy. I don't know whether you would call it paranormal romance or a fantasy. I'm fairly certain it's fantasy but with romance elements in it. It's very good. For some reason I thought this was urban fantasy, but I think I've got mixed up with the new Shadowhunter book, Chain of Gold. So yeah, we're following Bryce, who's half human, half fae. There are obviously vampires, werewolves, fae, angels, demons in this, etc. And we are also following a fallen angel, an enslaved fallen angel at that, called Hunt Athalar. And basically Bryce, in the very first section of this book, she's a party girl. She likes to get wasted and get high, you know, take all the drugs, drink all the alcohol, and just have a great time with her mates. But unfortunately, one day she comes back home to find all of her friends slaughtered at home, and it really knocks her for six. She's just completely heartbroken, and it jumps then to 2 years later, and she's basically asked by the leader of, if you like, the leader of the police department. I've not fully figured out what that is yet, to sort of come together with Hunt and try and figure out what has gone on, because there is this special horn missing that essentially can raise demons from hell, and it can open up portals in hell and the demons can get out and obviously will kill all the people. So she is basically assigned to help Hunt out, and he is assigned to protect her, essentially. Now it turns out that Bryce is a lot cleverer than she looks. She's not just some dumb party girl, and she's a lot cleverer than she looks. And this is just really fantastic. What I love about this more than anything is the fact that it's not just fantasy with a romantic element. The romance in this is very angsty and also will leave you high and dry. I am not playing, but it is also, it's got the elements of like a detective thriller, if you like. I really enjoyed that, you know, because they're both investigating what's been going on. It turns out that it's like sort of tied in with the death of her friends as well, so it's very good. I just loved it. I don't feel like you can put this in one category. It covers a whole range of categories, and I love books that do that, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it so much. I read this in the space of a 28-hour readathon essentially, but I slept for a while as well, so I don't know how long I read it for, but I followed along with the book whilst listening to the audiobook, and it was a great way of doing it. I really enjoyed it. Cannot wait for the next one. Yes, there is a next one. What am I talking about? The next one comes out in November 2021. I can't believe we've got to wait that long, but I know that I'm going to end up rereading this before that comes out because I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars, fantastic. Also competing for the #1 spot on my top 10 of 2019? No, 2020. Next I read a book called Clementine and Ruddy by Siobhan Curran. I loved this. We are following 2 young girls who are 15 years old, Clem and Ruddy. Ruddy is a street artist. She's just getting to a point where she's starting to actually put her art out on the street, and Clementine is a poet. These 2 girls both go to school when Clem is not at school and dance school. She's wandering about the streets of Brighton looking for street art to take pictures of and write poems about and post on Instagram. When Ruddy is not at school and working at the vegan place that she works at with her best friend Tyler, she is drawing in her sketchpad and also pulling her face at the fact that her mum has yet another boyfriend, and worried about the fact that when he moves in he will leave them high and dry with stealing things on his way out the door. So Clem has issues at home as well with her stepdad, who's been with her mum for a long time, and she also has a half brother, but she is having issues with him at the moment. He's basically emotionally abusing her mum, who is then in turn emotionally abusing her. So he's emotionally abusing her mum as well as Clem, and her mum is always backing Vincent up even when Clem's in the right. So there are things going on at home. Anyway, one day Ruddy does a piece of street art, and the following day Clem finds it, takes a picture of it, writes a poem, posts it on Instagram and tags Ruddy in it because she's left a tag obviously on the street art. Ruddy absolutely loves it. She then does another piece of art, takes a picture of it herself, sends it to Clem and says, now it's your turn. So she then writes a poem about it, posts it on Instagram, and Ruddy absolutely loves it, and essentially turns to Clem and asks does she want to do a collaboration where they actually do a street art piece of the art that Ruddy would do with a poem alongside it, and they decided to come together and do that collaboration. And it's just a gorgeous story about friendship, but also with tough times going on in the background, and I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I love Siobhan Curran's writing. She really writes friendships so well. She's very talented, and I'm just obsessed. So I highly recommend picking that one up. It comes out on the 4th of June, so do check that one out. And then finally I have Daisy Cooper's Rules for Living by Tamsin Keeley. Thank you to Orion Publishing for sending me a copy of this, and also to NetGalley for approving me for an e-arc for it. At the time when I was emailed about this, do I want to review this book and be on the blog tour, which my post will be up on the 3rd of June. I don't know, yeah, this will go up first, I think. My post will be up on Instagram for this on the 3rd of June. When I was asked about this, they at the time weren't sending proofs out, but then they later on said proofs out, so that's why I had a NetGalley one and also a physical copy. This is actually a finished copy. This is following Daisy Cooper, who dies 50 odd years too early. It's an accident, death made a boo-boo, and she dies too early, and now she's stuck in the in-between where she's working alongside death to try and help other people pass over, essentially, into the next life. I don't really know where they go, to be honest. But Daisy has an issue and she's devastated. She used to live with her best friend Violet. She was about to move in with her boyfriend Eric. He just asked her to move in before she died, and Violet has severe depression. Now, Daisy has managed to keep Violet on the straight and narrow for the majority of her life, and now Daisy has died, Violet is suffering massively with grief and loss, and she's really struggling with the depression. Eric is trying to do everything he can to keep her on the straight and narrow, but he's really struggling, and Daisy keeps coming back, but only for like a couple of minutes. She keeps coming back to the real world and obviously showing herself to Violet, but it keeps messing with Violet's head, because I don't think Daisy understands the repercussions that she's having on Violet's mental health by keep coming back and showing up and then disappearing again. Makes Violet feel like she's got her back, and then she just disappears again because she can't stick around for too long, and it's causing issues for Violet mentally, and it's causing a massive problem for them. And I don't think, like I say, I don't think Daisy understands the repercussions she's having of doing this, appearing and disappearing. And just be careful, trigger warnings for grief, depression, suicidal thoughts, and also attempted suicide. So just be careful with this book for those. I enjoyed the first part of this book. It was very interesting and intriguing to sort of see death be like, oh, you're not the person we were expecting, you've died too early. And I really enjoyed the end. I didn't enjoy it at all. I was upset towards the end of this book because of the way it went, but also happy at the end as well. It was like bittersweet moments, but the middle for me just felt a little bit flat. I felt like, I don't know, it's not a necessarily long book, but I felt like the middle just, I was dropping off a little bit with the middle. I was finding myself easily distracted, putting the book down, watching YouTube, going on Twitter, going on Instagram. So I just found myself distracted with the middle of this book. I gave it 3 stars overall. It was very well written. I really enjoyed Tamsin's writing style, and overall it was a really good book. So I just gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, but it was fine. It was just a good book. So those are the books for the second half of May. I don't even know what month I'm talking about. Yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please give it a like down below if you did. I would really appreciate it, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And please do not forget to check out the links I will be leaving down below to help with the Black Lives Matter movement. If the least you can do is just go on and sign the petitions, at least you've done something. Just please support where you can, and I just implore you to check out the links I will be leaving down below. So please do that. Thank you very much, I really appreciate it, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.